Welcome, dear brave listener. You're tuning in to Careful TV, and I'm truly grateful you're here. Whether you're tuning in during the day or late at night, thank you for choosing to spend a part of your time with me. If you enjoy these stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and means more than you know. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from, what brought you here, or even what kind of story you'd like to hear next. Your support keeps this channel going, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Now, let's get into today's horror story. I was 22 when I still believed in the magic of online dating. That might sound naive now, but at the time it felt like the future. Swipe, match, talk, meet. Simple. I had just gotten out of a messy relationship and thought maybe starting fresh on an app would be easier than bumping into people at bars or waiting for someone at work to notice me. My daughter had just turned 1, and life felt like a puzzle I was trying to put together while blindfolded. Nights were long, mornings were relentless, and my phone was the only thing that made me feel like I wasn't stuck on an island by myself. Back then, my days blurred into each other. Wake up, warm a bottle, change diapers, try to shower if she napped, and steal 5 quiet minutes to just breathe. My friends were still going out to concerts, still staying out until 2 a.m., still texting me about guys who bought them drinks. Meanwhile, I was pacing my apartment floor at those same hours with a baby pressed against my shoulder, praying she'd fall back asleep. I wasn't resentful. I loved my daughter more than anything, but I was lonely, and loneliness can trick you into thinking things are safe that aren't. My name's Mariah, and back then, I was juggling diapers, formula, and a string of conversations with strangers who promised they weren't like other guys. I wasn't dumb about it. I had rules. I told myself I'd never let anyone meet my daughter. I'd never let a date know my exact address. I'd never get too swept up too fast. Those rules were like a shield I thought would keep me safe. But rules are easier to keep when you're not exhausted and wishing someone would just look at you like you weren't invisible. Because when you're up at 3 in the morning rocking a baby back to sleep, your hair in a bun, your shirt stained with formula, and someone is texting you about music or their dog or their favorite road trips, it feels like a lifeline. It feels like proof that you're still part of the world outside those 4 walls. That's how I met Mark. He was 30, nearly a decade older than me, which should have been a deal breaker. I told myself I'd avoid older men, avoid anyone who might see me as naive. But his profile didn't feel like the others. He wasn't showing off with gym selfies or flexing in front of cars. He wasn't holding up a fish like a trophy or standing in a group of guys at a Vegas pool party. His photos were plain, sitting on a porch with a mug in his hand, hiking with a dog that looked like a mutt, standing in front of a tent at a campground. His bio had one line that stood out. I don't want to waste time. I want to build something real. That hooked me. We matched on a Thursday, and by Friday we were texting constantly. It didn't feel fast at the time. It felt like momentum, like maybe I was catching up on something I'd been missing. He asked about my daughter, and instead of treating her like baggage, he called her a blessing. He wanted to know what cartoons she liked, what lullabies I sang to her at night. He told me he'd dated younger women before, not because he was looking to take advantage, but because women his age were jaded. I should have noticed the way that word felt dismissive, the way it slipped out casually like he'd said it many times before. But I let it slide. It was flattering to be called optimistic when I mostly felt exhausted. I told myself he was just being honest. By Sunday, he was calling me wildly easy to talk to. By Monday, he was joking about moving in together someday. By Tuesday, he had a spreadsheet in progress. Literally a list of household items we'd merge one day. 2 coffee makers, 1 couch, 1 dining table. He said we should probably start a joint email just to keep track. I laughed it off over text, but inside a piece of me was stunned by how quickly he was folding me into his life. There was something intoxicating about the way he assumed a future without hesitation. Nobody else had ever done that for me. On Wednesday night, he sent a text that made my stomach tighten in a way I couldn't explain. I'd be honored to be part of your daughter's life if you let me. I stared at the words for a long time, my thumb hovering over the screen. Nobody had ever said anything like that to me before. My ex, her father, had disappeared the moment I told him I was pregnant. He hadn't bought a single diaper, hadn't held her once. So to hear someone, even through a screen, say he want to help, say he want to show up, it cracked something open in me. We decided to meet that Friday. He picked a small restaurant in Fairview, a quiet suburb outside Columbus. He said he wanted somewhere cozy, where the food didn't matter as much as the company. I put on a navy dress and a cardigan, trying to look older, more put together than I felt. The drive there is filled with nervous energy. I kept adjusting the mirror, checking my hair, rehearsing lines in my head. I wanted him to see someone steady, someone worth building a life with. He was already there when I walked in. His pictures hadn't lied. He was broad-shouldered, shaved head, dark eyes. He stood when I approached, but there was no hug, no smile. Just a flat, "Hey," as he gestured for me to sit. I tried to brush it off as nerves. We ordered drinks, and I started asking questions. Safe ones about hobbies, about his week, about the books he liked. But he barely answered. His replies were clipped, almost dismissive. He didn't look around the room, didn't glance at his phone, didn't even fiddle with his glass. He just stared at me. Not like he was admiring me, not like he was shy. It was different, expressionless, heavy. His eyes tracked every movement I made. When I lifted my glass, when I tucked my hair behind my ear, when I laughed awkwardly at my own joke just to fill the silence. The weight of it made me stumble over my words. My cheeks burned. I shifted in my chair, crossed and uncrossed my legs, tried to look anywhere but at him. But every time my gaze slipped back, he was locked on me. It felt like he wasn't just watching me. He was studying me, dissecting me, waiting for me to reveal something hidden. I talked more than I ever had in my life, just to avoid the pressure of that stare. At one point, I went completely quiet, wondering if the silence would make him say something, anything. But it didn't. He just kept looking at me, unblinking, like he had all the time in the world. The only full sentence he gave me all night came when the check arrived. "We'll split it." 2 hours of one-sided conversation, and that was it. Driving home, I tried to rationalize. Maybe he was shy in person. Maybe he had social anxiety. Maybe first dates were just harder for him. But the knot in my stomach told me something else. Something deeper. The next morning, my phone buzzed. "I had such a nice time last night. We should plan something bigger next. Maybe a weekend at the lake." I stared at the message, disbelief washing over me. Had we been on the same date? I typed back, "I don't think we're a good match." I didn't feel a spark in person. What followed was an hour of long, rambling texts. Not angry, not pleading, just obsessive. "You're scared. I know you felt it." Even in silence, it was loud. "I can be patient. Don't walk away from the person who would die for your daughter." That last line made me feel like the air had been knocked out of me. I blocked his number. I deleted the app, but I couldn't shake the memory of that dinner. The way his eyes locked onto me, like he was studying me under glass. Like he was waiting for me to reveal something I didn't know I had. It's been years since then. I never saw Mark again. He never came to my apartment, never showed up at my work, never messaged me through another account. But sometimes I catch a stranger's expression across a crowded train, or at a gas station, or sitting too still at a restaurant, and my stomach drops. Because I remember what it felt like to be dissected without words. Love doesn't show up in a week. It doesn't ask for your child before it knows you. Real love doesn't stare at you like prey. And some men wear kindness like a costume until they're close enough to unzip it. I never used to think much about online dating. Not that I was against it, but I always figured I'd meet someone the old-fashioned way, through friends, work, or maybe a random conversation at the grocery store. But by 2015, it felt like everyone I knew was meeting partners through an app. My best friend from college was living with a guy she met on Plenty of Fish, and my cousin had just gotten engaged to someone from OkCupid. I was 27, single, and tired of being the third wheel at dinners. So one rainy Wednesday night, sitting on my couch in Raleigh with takeout containers on the coffee table, I had downloaded an app called LinkUp. My name's David, and I told myself I was just browsing. Nothing serious. I wanted to feel like I was trying, like I hadn't completely given up on the idea of dating. The app was simple. Swipe left, swipe right, send a quick message. The usual. I set up my profile with a photo my sister had taken at a cookout. Me in a button-down holding a plate of ribs, smiling like someone who didn't mind being photographed. I added another picture of me at the beach with sunglasses, plus a short bio. Music fan, bad cook, decent listener. Looking for someone real. After a week of swiping and small talk that went nowhere, I matched with her. Her name was Kara. She had blonde hair, green eyes, and a smile that seemed almost shy. Her pictures weren't flashy. One in a cardigan holding a coffee cup, another at a park with a dog she said belonged to her roommate. Her bio was simple too. Movies, books, quiet nights. No games. I like that. No bikini shots, no group selfies at bars, just calm, normal-looking photos. We messaged for a few days, and she came across a little awkward at times, overusing emojis and typing LOL a lot. But she asked me real questions about my favorite bands, about my job as an IT coordinator, about where I grew up. She never pushed the conversation anywhere flirty or weird. That alone made her stand out. So by Saturday, we agreed to meet in person. We picked a place called The Landing, a mid-level restaurant with airplane decor and leather booths. I got there early, nerves buzzing. I wasn't expecting much, but I felt the same jittery excitement I hadn't felt in years. I wore jeans, a dark shirt, and my best sneakers. She walked in 10 minutes later, wearing a light blue dress with flats. Her hair was pulled back in a simple braid, and she had almost no makeup on. She looked exactly like her pictures, maybe even softer in person. "Hi, David," she said quietly, giving a small wave. "Hey, Kara," I said, standing up. Instead of sliding into the booth across from me, she sat down right next to me. That threw me off. First dates usually started face to face, not shoulder to shoulder. But I told myself not to overthink it. Maybe she was just quirky. The smell of rose water clung faintly to her, mixed with something else, something sharper, almost medicinal. She laughed nervously and said, "Sorry, I just hate feeling like I'm in an interview when I sit across from someone." I chuckled. "No worries." We started with the usual small talk. Where we grew up, favorite movies, random stories from work. But about 10 minutes in, I felt her hand brush against mine on the seat. At first I thought it was accidental, so I shifted slightly to give her space. But then her fingers slid deliberately into my palm. I froze, staring at the menu like nothing was happening. She looked at me and smiled softly. "Your hands are huge," she said, tucking in my fingers gently. Mine looked so tiny next to them. I forced a polite smile. "Yeah, I guess I had big hands." Without asking, she laced her fingers through mine. My pulse quickened, but not in the good way. Something about the intensity of it on a first date felt wrong. Still, I didn't pull away. I told myself she was probably just nervous, maybe overly affectionate. When the waitress came, I tried to slip my hand free to grab a menu, but Kara held on tight. She ordered water. I asked for a Coke. The waitress glanced at our clasped hands and gave me a quick, uncertain look before walking away. Once we were alone again, Kara tilted her head and whispered, "Can you squeeze my hand? Just a little." "What?" I asked, caught off guard. "Just squeeze it," she said, giggling faintly. "Not too hard. Just like mean it." I gave her hand a light squeeze, try to keep things casual. "A little more," she pressed. "Come on, tighter." I squeezed harder, feeling awkward. She leaned her head against my shoulder and sighed. "That feels nice. It's like you're grounding me." Makes me feel safe. The food came. Chicken tenders for me. A grilled cheese for her. But she still didn't let go of my hand. We try to eat with our free hands, awkwardly fumbling with forks and napkins. I could barely cut my food. Then she said something that made my stomach knot. Squeeze me tighter, like you want to crush my hand. I stopped mid-bite. Are you serious? Her eyes lit up. Just once. I've always wondered how much pressure it would take to break the bones in a hand. I want to know how strong you were. I laughed nervously, thinking she was joking. That's not exactly a first date kind of game. She didn't laugh. She just stared at me, waiting. I pulled my hand away. Her grip was surprisingly strong, but I managed to free myself. Kara, that's not funny, I said, my voice low. Her face fell, almost like I'd just insulted her. Oh, did I do something wrong? I just think we have different ideas of what a first date looks like, I said carefully. She stared at the table in silence for a long moment. It was just a joke, she muttered. I thought you'd get it. You seem fun online. The tension sat heavy between us. I pulled out my wallet, placed cash on the table, and stood. I think I'm gonna head out, I said quietly. Her voice sharpened as I turned. David. I froze. You don't know what you're walking away from. The way she said it, flat, cold, almost calculated, made my skin crawl. I didn't reply. I just walked out, got into my car, and drove home without looking back. I deleted Link Up as soon as I got home. Not just unmatched her, I nuked the whole account. She never texted, never called, never showed up at my apartment. But for weeks afterward, I kept replaying that night in my head. The grip of her hand, the dead tone in her voice when she said, I didn't know what I was walking away from. Part of me wonders if she was just awkward, if it was some bizarre attempt at flirting gone wrong. Maybe it was a fetish. Maybe it was her way of testing boundaries. But deep down, I don't think it was about attraction at all. It felt darker, heavier, like she was probing for something I didn't want to understand. Sometimes I catch myself thinking about the next guy. What if he didn't walk away? What if he played along? Did she ever find someone willing to give her the kind of answer she was looking for? I don't know. And I don't want to know. All I do know is that I've never looked at holding hands the same way again. I wasn't even the one who wanted to download the app. That's the part one keeps circling back to, the detail that gnaws at me whenever I think about what happened. It wasn't my idea. I just turned 25, living in a rented duplex on the north side of Louisville with my longtime friend, Erin. She's one of those people who chases whatever's new, trendy meal kits, spin classes, skincare routines that cost as much as rent, and of course dating apps. You're going to end up the weird aunt with 50 cats if you don't try something, she teased one night while scrolling through her own endless stream of matches. She was sprawled on our sagging couch in sweatpants, her thumb moving so fast it was like muscle memory. My name's Ray, I said, rolling my eyes at her. And for the record, I make an excellent weird aunt. She ignored me, just kept talking. You don't go out, you don't drink, and you still haven't updated your phone since college. You're basically invisible. Apps level the field. Everyone's on them. It's not that deep. I wanted to argue, but she wasn't wrong. My dating life was basically non-existent. I'd gone on 2 painful coffee dates in the past year, both arranged through friends of friends, and each had ended in stiff small talk that barely lasted 40 minutes. The thought of putting myself back out there made my stomach tighten. I wasn't reckless. I wasn't impulsive. I grew up with a mom who double-checked the locks 3 times before bed and never let me walk home alone, even in our quiet neighborhood. By my 20s, that carefulness wasn't just a habit. It was a filter. I evaluated everything, planned around every risk. Online dating felt like stepping straight into a blind spot. But that night, after another one of Erin's speeches, I gave in. Not Tinder. That was too obvious, too chaotic. I downloaded a smaller app called Harbor. Its whole pitch was safety, deeper connections, profiles with long questionnaires. It made me feel like maybe the people on there weren't just chasing hookups. I uploaded 2 photos, Nothing flashy. One of me holding a coffee cup outside a bookstore, another of me on a hiking trail in the Smokies. My bio was short and boring. Then I set the phone down and tried to forget about it. I've always carried a quiet, low-level fear around man. Not because of any one incident. Nothing like that had happened to me before then. But because it was wired into me. Sometimes it felt irrational, like paranoia. But it was there all the same. A tightness in my chest when someone lingered too long behind me. The heat in my ears when a stranger stared a little too hard. I called it instinct. My mom called it intuition. Whatever it was the reason I set rules for myself before using the app. Never give out my last name, never hand over social media, never meet unless I initiated, always tell Aaron where I was going, always pick public places. Simple, controlled rules. For the first couple weeks, nothing much happened. I swiped, skimmed profiles, and got a handful of weird openers that made me want to delete the app altogether. Then I matched with someone named Daniel. His profile looked normal in a way that felt almost comforting. A couple photos of him with friends at a food truck rally. One of them hiking with his sister's dog, another with the Indianapolis skyline in the background. He had glasses, a crooked smile, and a sort of gentle, unpolished look that put me at ease. His bio read, graphic designer, not here to waste anyone's time. Asked me about my favorite smell. Bonus points if you know yours. It felt like someone had actually thought about what they wrote, which was rare enough to make me stop scrolling. I messaged first, okay, favorite smell? Mine's fresh coffee in the morning, but rain on asphalt is a close second. His reply came almost instantly. Would smoke after rain, but fresh coffee is a strong contender. You have great taste. That was how it started. We went back and forth for over 2 hours that night. Movies we loved, foods we hated, the embarrassing music phases we went through in high school. He told me about his job, about renting a small but cozy apartment downtown, about how his mom was into tarot cards. He never pushed the conversation anywhere uncomfortable. He was funny without being aggressive. Normal, I kept thinking. He feels normal. 2 days later, he asked if I was comfortable moving the text. I hesitated, but then reasoned with myself. He hadn't been weird once, and if anything felt off, I could block him. So I gave him my number. Texting was even easier than the app. He sent me a picture one morning of a raccoon rifling through the dumpster behind his office. Another night, we stayed up until almost 2 a.m. talking about the cartoons we grew up watching. He was consistent, never pushy, never impatient. And because of that, I started letting my guard down. Then, after about a week, he asked for my Instagram. I froze. I hadn't mentioned Instagram once. I barely used it. My account was private, hidden under a variation of my middle name. Only close friends followed me. I asked him why he wanted it. Just curious, he texted back. I like seeing more of the people I connect with. It sounded harmless, but I told him no. Not yet. That's when he sent the message that made my stomach drop. It's okay. I already know everything I need to know about you. I stared at it for a full minute, heart hammering. What do you mean by that? I typed back. He didn't answer right away. Then, I work in tech. I know how to dig when I need to. Don't worry, you're not a catfish. You're exactly who you say you are. That's rare. My mouth went dry. How do you know that? I asked. His response was matter of fact. You use the same username on Pinterest. Took a couple guesses. Found your old Tumblr too. You posted a photo at the Louisville Public Library last week. And you like posting about cats and party hats. Cute. I felt the ground tilt beneath me. I hadn't told him where I lived. I hadn't mentioned anything about those accounts. I didn't even use them anymore. It was like realizing you'd left a trail of breadcrumbs without ever knowing it, and someone had followed every single one. My body reacted before my mind did. Tight chest, shaking hands, that old gut fear roaring to life. I told him what he'd done was invasive, that it was creepy and unacceptable. His reply? He laughed. Not words, just rows of ha-ha in all caps, dozens of them like he was mocking me. Then came the paragraphs. Long rant about how women lie online, about how he was just protecting himself, making sure I was real, about how I should feel flattered he'd spend the time. I stopped replying. He didn't. That night my phone buzzed nonstop. Over 100 messages. Some were just my name, typed over and over again. Others were photos he'd clearly pulled from my old accounts, places I'd been, things I'd posted years ago. None of it was outright threatening, but the sheer volume of it felt like being smothered. It was noise meant to drown me out. At 2:12 a.m., one message came through that made my stomach twist. "I never hurt you. You're special. I just see you." That was when I realized it wasn't about what he had said. It was about what he might do. I showed Erin the messages the next morning. She told me to go to the police. But what would I say? He hadn't threatened me. He hadn't come to my apartment. All he'd done was fine but was already online. It didn't feel like enough for anyone to take seriously. Instead, I went to my cell provider and had his number blocked to the source. I changed my own number completely, deleted Harbor, scrubbed my old Tumblr, locked down Pinterest, changed my Instagram handle to something random, then deactivated it altogether. For weeks after, I kept looking over my shoulder, checked my rearview mirror on the drive home, flinched whenever someone lingered near my building. But he never showed up. He disappeared as suddenly as he'd arrived. The worst part wasn't what he did. It was how exposed I felt afterward. Like someone had peeled back my skin and sifted through what was underneath. He didn't need to break in or hack anything. He just used what I'd left out in the open, scraps I'd never thought twice about. I stopped online dating after that. For years, I didn't trust anyone who seemed too polished, too perfect. Even now, when I'm standing in line at the grocery store or sipping coffee in a cafe, I'll sometimes catch someone glancing at me and wonder, do they know something? Have they already found me online, pieced together more than I've ever said out loud? Because it doesn't take much anymore. Just a name, a photo, a couple of old usernames. A little time. That's all it takes to blur the line between privacy and exposure. If there's anything I learned, it's this. The danger isn't always the man who corners you in a bar or follows you down a street. Sometimes it's the one who never raises a red flag until you've already let him in. The one who doesn't show up in your rearview mirror at all. The one who waits quietly in your phone.